It was a quiet, still night, and tucked away in the corner of the quarry, Mavis was sleeping peacefully in her shed. She was dreaming contently, until suddenly... What was that? She stammered as her eyes shot open. From outside her shed, she could hear a strange sound, a deep, foreboding rumbling. It almost sounded like something breathing. Before Mavis could even process what was happening, several loud bangs rang out, cutting through the still nighttime air. "Oh, help!" shrieked Mavis. It was all too much for her, and she screwed her eyes tightly shut. "A monster!" Toby couldn't help but laugh. "Of all the tricks, Mavis, I wouldn't fancy you for using something so obvious." Mavis went red in the face. She was fruitlessly trying to recount her night's ordeal to Toby. "It's not a trick. I really heard something." "Oh, all right," smiled Toby. "I believe you. But really, a monster. I think you might have gotten yourself a little bit worked up. Are you sure it wasn't a dream?" "It wasn't," protested Mavis. "It sounded just like a proper monster." "How do you know it wasn't a Leviathan?" grinned Toby with a wink. Mavis, not understanding the old tram's joke, went redder than ever. "Oh, fiddlesticks and fudge! Some help you are!" she bemoaned as she flounced away. She spent the rest of the morning sulking. "It wasn't a dream. I did hear something, I did," she muttered to herself. "Calm down, girl," soothed her driver. "No need to let it ruin your day." But Mavis wasn't comforted. But what if it comes back?" The driver laughed. "Well, if it makes you feel any better, I can stay behind a little later tonight to keep you company." Mavis pretended to be indifferent, but deep down, she was thankful for the offer. "This'll prove to old Toby that I'm right," she thought to herself. The rest of the day passed by uneventfully, and by that night, Mavis slipped back into her shed. Her driver closed the shed doors to the empty quarry and grabbed her flask from Mavis's cab. "I can say half an hour or so, then I must get home." Mavis was about to reply when she suddenly went pale. "Shh," she whispered. "Listen, I can hear it." The driver listened carefully. Sure enough, a deep, breathing-like rumble filled the air, before being punctuated by several loud bangs. "That's it!" quivered Mavis nervously. But her driver wasn't scared, and she quickly peered out of the shed door. She stared for a few moments, before she burst out laughing. "Here's your monster," the driver grinned, opening the shed. There stood a rather worn-out lorry, close to the quarry entrance. Mavis was very surprised, and a little unsure of the newcomers, but both lorry and its driver were friendly. "We're, new to the area, you see. Wound up here last night, too," explained the lorry driver. "Directions aren't a strong point of mine, admittedly. Sincerest apologies for any disturbances we've caused," added the lorry with a cough of its engine. Mavis's driver laughed. "Don't worry, you've caused no disturbance, aside from startling my engine." Mavis felt too embarrassed to say anything at first, but before long, all parties were chatting away happily. Following that evening, the lorry never returned to the quarry, and Mavis remained undisturbed. However, when she goes down the tramway, she will often see her friend nearby, and especially hear them, as their engine still makes a dreadful racket. Mavis and her driver laughed, and began to call them Sputter. Sputter loved the name, and has worn it happily ever since. Mavis was very pleased too. Although, between you and me, now she worries about what Toby might say to her next.